This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, and I'm bringing to you all things health-related for women. Thank you for joining me here at GYN Corner, and today I'll be speaking about uterine prolapse. Now, for the last couple of days, I've spoken about pelvic organ prolapse, which is encompassing all of the organs of the pelvis, so bladder, bladder, urethra, cervix, uterus, and rectum, small intestine. And prolapse is the herniation or the collapse or falling out of the body of those pelvic organs. I stated all of this information in detail in the previous presentations, but in brief, any increased intra-abdominal or pelvic pressure will over time cause stress and strain of the pelvic muscles, which act like a sling or a trampoline or a platform to maintain the integrity or the normal positioning of the pelvic organs. The most common forms of strain and stress are obesity, pregnancy, vaginal childbirth, delivery, chronic coughing, frequent heavy weightlifting, lots of physical exertion or activity. So anything that increases, and constipation is another one too. I've forgotten about that one. Constipation, because the person's constantly straining or bearing down to have bowel movements. So any kind of constant, frequent, and especially over time, abdominal or pelvic pressure will put a lot of strain and stress on those pelvic floor muscles, and they will weaken those pelvic floor muscles. When those muscles are weakened, the organs which are supported on those muscles will start to sag through the pelvic arena, and then that sagging is called a prolapse. It's really a herniation or a collapsing of those organs below the pelvic muscles and into the weakest point, which is the vaginal vault. So the bladder falls backwards down into the front or the anterior portion of the vagina. The rectum and the small intestines can fall forward down into the back part of the vagina, which we call the posterior wall of the vagina, and the uterus can simply just start to fall down. So today I'll speak on the signs and symptoms of uterine prolapse. Now, the prolapse, of course, is measured in degrees, so mild, moderate, severe, primary, secondary, tertiary, and fourth degree, or third degree and fourth degree prolapse. Mild, moderate, first, second degree, and third degree, those are just the slow progression of the cervix and the uterus falling a little bit lower than we expect it to be, not fully properly maintained in the pelvic arena with any kind of stress, strain, or coughing. And then it can fall about midway into the vaginal vault. It can fall just at the opening of the vagina, so right at the opening before you could see it, and then it can come, or right as you can see it, and then it can completely fall out of the body. If it completely falls out of the body, that's called a total procedencia. So the uterus is just sitting like a baby that's just been delivered. It's contained in the vaginal wall, so it has like a skin-like sac covering it, and it's completely outside of the body. Now, most women don't get to that point. They'll have just some mild, moderate, or third degree uterine prolapse. So the most common signs or symptoms of uterine prolapse are going to be constant lower back pain, ache, pressure. Sometimes it'll be a lower abdominal ache, pain, or pressure because the uterus is supported or suspended on ligaments or tissue lines of tissue support which hold it up into the pelvic, towards the pelvic walls. So it's kind of like a trampoline where it's tethered in 6 different tethers, so in 3 different directions. So the 6 ligaments, we call them cardinal ligaments of uterine support, are from the uterus to the front of the body, the uterus to the back of the body, and from the uterus to the sides of the body. As the uterus starts to fall through or below the pelvis, those ligaments get stretched and pulled along with the weakening of the pelvic floor, and it's the stretching or the pulling of those cardinal ligaments that causes the pain, pressure, dull, ache, and sometimes women will say a pulling sensation. So that's the most common initial sign that or symptom that there's something going on. As the uterus continues to fall, oftentimes she'll start to have increased discomfort with sexual activity, or increased pressure, pulling, or pain with sexual activity, because basically the cervix and the uterus are filling up half of the vaginal vault. So with intercourse or thrusting, the cervix and the uterus are pushed and pulled and popped and hit along different lines of trajectory, and that's quite uncomfortable. It can also hit the ovaries, and the ovaries are always sensitive or tender. Anytime you hit the ovaries, that's going to be painful or uncomfortable. So there will be a lot of pain, pressure, discomfort, and with sexual activity is a second sign or symptom. And then some women will come in simply saying that they feel a ball in the uterus. So they're washing or they're putting a tampon in. If they're putting a tampon in, they'll feel some resistance to putting the tampon in. Other times they'll say they feel a ball in the uterus, or they'll say that they feel a ball coming out of the uterus. If they cough or sneeze, they can feel something coming out, separating the vaginal lips or the labia. When they come in, we do a physical exam, and during the exam, we have them cough or bear down like they want to have a bowel movement, and then we see if there's a lot of laxity in the movement of the cervix and the uterus. We can then, on the physical exam, push the uterus all the way up, see what the laxity is there, feel around in the pelvic cavity, and then push down the uterus or have them bear down. We open the vaginal lips or the labia, and we see how much drop or descensus occurs when they bear down or push. We can also have them stand. When they stand, we've pushed the uterus all the way back up. We have them stand, open their legs, cough or sneeze, see how much droppage or descensus occurs, and if we can see with them just standing that the cervix starts to protrude or peek out between the labia, or if it falls completely out. So that gives us an evaluation on the degree of prolapse or the degree of herniation that's occurred. So I hope that's been helpful information on the signs and symptoms of uterine prolapse and total procedencia, which is the uterus is completely out of the body. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll finish up on the uterine prolapse in terms of management and treatment. I hope that's been helpful information. Thank you very much for joining me here on GYN Corner. This is Dr. McDaniel. Please click the subscribe and follow buttons on the Facebook page and on our YouTube page, which is also GYN Corner, so you get a heads up, give you information on the presentations and when they're occurring. And then please check out the podcasts. They're also called GYN Corner. We're on 8 different platforms: Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and a few more. Thanks again. Have a great rest of your Thursday. See you tomorrow. Bye.